Join me as I draft and cut this Caftan top. So right now I'm just mapping out the shoulder line where I'll be inserting the shoulder measurement. So this will serve as the top, the shoulder side of my draft. Now I'm just going to be putting the measurement onto the paper. Now his shoulder was 18, so half of it will be 9. I'm going ahead to put the 9 and then add an extra half inch for sewing in sewing allowance. Now I'll be drafting out the armhole. I'm using 7.5. Right now, there will be an adjustment to the 7.5. I'm just doing that now because we've not gotten to the back portion of the draft. Now I'll be marking that out so that it becomes a visible line for me to be able to work with. And so there I am just marking it out. When trying to make an armhole for a senator, we need to make sure that we get the half of that 7.5, which is 3.75. Now, from that half, we're going to also reduce the armhole by 5 inches. The reason why we're doing so is so that they can have comfort at that chest region. Now, we will now be curving the armhole, joining the lines, the bottom line with the middle, and then the middle with the top. So this is it. Sorry, I'm not using a ruler or a French curve. Actually, I've gotten so used to freehand that sometimes I just find myself doing it without any ruler. Now, normally I like my chest measurements to be 2 inches below the the armhole. The reason is because half inch goes into stitching the sleeve, while the other 1.5 gives a little space to wiggle around. So I'm just drafting out the chest line, which is 2 inches below the armhole, and that is what I'm marking out right now. After that, we'll be going ahead to put in the chest measurement. Now, his fitted chest measurement is 36, but however, we don't want the senator to be entirely fitted. So after dividing 36 by 4, which is equivalent to 9, I will now be adding 3 inches. Now that 3 inches is going to be an extra allowance for for him to get through, as in to wear the senator comfortably, and then 1 inch for sewing allowance. Now I'm going ahead to mark his waist line, and that is going to be at 21. And after which I'll be putting his waist measurement uh, onto that line. Then the final thing I'm going to go ahead to do is to okay, yeah, when putting the measurements for the waistline, we're also going to be adding that 3 inches also, like we did at the chest line. 2 inches for space, and then 1 inch for sewing allowance. Now I'll be going ahead to put in the top measurement. Now, normally, when you are sewing a regular top for guys, by the time you have measured the top length, you usually put like 2 inches, for hemming and then joining of the shoulders. But in this case, being that it's a senator and this is just the front part, we are not going to be including that 2 inches. So now his shirt length is 30. We're just marking out the 30. We're not including any allowance. That is because the allowance is going to be at the back. Yes, the allowance is going to be at the back. We'll be adding a little bit of space to the shoulder, which will bring the front portion down a bit. When we get there, you get the jerk of it. So right now, I'm just putting out the line, and then I will go ahead to join the point so that it becomes a visible mark. I would also go ahead to put the measurements. Now, the measurement I'm going to be putting at this bottom side is going to be the hip measurement. The reason is because just the same way ladies want to, be able to have their tops lap on top of their hip, so also the guys need their top to lap on top of their hip. Although they will have slits, but however, you don't want it looking tight as if you are trying to hug their hips or something. So use the hip measurement, and then we'll also be adding the 3 inches just like we did at the chest line and the waistline. 2 inch, like I said earlier, would be for extra space, and then 1 inch for sewing allowance. But now this bottom side is going to have a little bit of twig. After we have put in the hip measurement, we've put in the 3 inches, we're going to still be adding 1.5 inches to the measurement. Now, this inch and a half is going to be for for bending in the slit that guys usually have at their top. Yes, for you to be able to make it look neat and nice, we're going to be adding 1.5 inch, so that will fold inward. Now, the slit is going to be 8 inches long. So after putting in the 1.5 inch for the for tucking in of the sleeve, you're going to be putting 8 inch for the height of the sleeve. Now that's because you want it to be comfortable and you want them to be able to easily access their pockets while putting on the outfit. So right now you just go ahead and cut the shape out. As you can see, I've not yet cut out the neck portion. That will be done when we are also cutting out the back portion. Just stick with me as we cut through. So after cutting this, basically, we're going to be also putting out the folded paper for the back side. But I wanted to discuss something with you. Now, when it comes to cutting the back side of a senator, most of the times people leave 3 inches at the neck side, while some leave 4 inches at the neck side. Now, you may want to know how can you differentiate when you need to put 3 inches and when you need to put 4 inches. This is based on the neck or the shoulder of the person that you are going to sew for. Now, normally when you see some individuals, no matter how young or how old they are, they have like this very built shoulder neck region. But then there are also some people that have like a less built neck. Now, for those who don't have that, thick neck, shoulder section, you can use 3 inches for them. It will still be pretty much comfortable. But for those that have like a really thick neck, shoulder angle, you make it 4 inches so that the clothes can still have balance while fitting them properly. So now I'm just going to fold this person's own by 4 inches, two for the front and then two for the back. Now this is why we did not add allowance to the front section of the shirt. That is because automatically now the 1.5 that is here automatically gets to the hem, and that will be used to tuck in the shirt. Now, a trick to cutting out the armhole of the back region is this. You see that line I'm drawing? I'm going to curve it towards the top at some point. And that is, yes, just like I'm doing, 1/2 inch, you curve it in. The reason is because by the time you are stitching the shoulder to the sleeve, you don't want the shoulder to be cut off by a few inches, and then you have a situation whereby somebody's shoulder that is supposed to be 18 inch now looks as if it's just 17 inch that you used. So you just extend it by that 1/2 inch. Now we are going to the next side. We want the neck to be 4 inches in depth and then 2.5 inch in width. Now, after we have marked out this measurement, we'll now go ahead to curve it. After curving it, I don't think I did it in this video, but after curving it, what you usually do is ensure that after curving it, you measure the um the roundness of the neck to know if you have gotten something that will sit properly on the guy's neck. Now, after curving it, that is usually when that is done, so that you can determine how well it will sit on the person's neck. So here I am trying to curve the neck and the shoulder to make sure that it's well measured. Sorry for the noise in the background. A lot of people are moving around us, so they're making a lot of noise. So this is what it's supposed to look like now. Um, the neck section has been curved, and now we have a perfect neck and a perfect shoulder. So basically, at this point, I'm adding 5 inches. This 5 inches is going to serve as the distance from the neck where I have cut down to the chest. So I don't think the person's head is that big, so he doesn't need so much of depth. But if you have a client whose head is a bit bigger, so that you don't have a situation whereby it seems as if the neck is too tight, you can bring it down by a few more inches. But however, this person's neck is right, um the average size or width. Now, as you can see, we'll be slanting the shoulder by half an inch for both the front and the back of this outfit. So that's what I'm just marking out and trying to measure out. Now, once I have done this bending of the shoulder, I'm just going to ensure that I put the paper properly, and then I will cut out the measurements that I've taken. So this is basically me doing that right now, trying to cut all the shapes out. So guys, just like I said, when I'm done cutting out the neck, I will now open the center, the chest center, down by 5 inches. That will be where we'll be inserting the lapel, and then there'll be an opening for the neck. So basically, that's all that you need to do when it comes to a senator. The next thing now is just to transfer this to your fabric and then cut it out. So basically, I'm going to be cutting out the front section first and making sure that I I'm going to be cutting out the back section first, just to be sure that I manage the material well enough. I'm actually managing this material, so I want to do it well enough. So I'm going to be cutting out the back section first. That's what I'm doing right now. Afterwards, I will now cut out the front section and then get out a piece for the lapel, the larger part of the lapel, and then the smaller part of the lapel. Basically, sewing a senator is pretty much easy as long as you know where to mark and where to cut and what to do. It's basically easy from there. Just need to know how to get it right. So I believe that with this, you should be able to try out your own senator outfit sooner or later, and then you tell us how it comes out. So basically, guys, I'm almost done cutting the back at this point, and I will also be cutting sleeves for it. But however, it's going to be a short sleeve. um like I said, we're managing the fabric, and I would not want to use too much and then forget about the trousers. So I'm really trying to be economical right now. So this is me trying to get out the sleeve. I want the sleeve to be 8 inches, but then because of the sewing allowance and everything, make it 10 inches. Now that's why I marked the 10 inches. Now his round sleeve, that means around his arm, is 18 inches. So I'm going to be using 10 I'm going to be using 10 inches to get the width, because we need sewing allowance and then some other things. Now, so I've marked out that 10 inches, and I'm just going to basically get out the shape that will lap with the armhole that has been drawn on the shirt. So that's what I'm drawing right now, and then I'll just cut it out, and that will be the sleeve of our shirt. So guys, tell me what you think. If you would love me to give you um, a more detailed tutorial on how to draw out or to draft a sleeve. If you would like me to do that, please comment, and please drop me a comment in this comment section, and I would create a video that will give you a more detailed understanding of how to cut out a sleeve. So basically, this video is almost done because I didn't sew in this particular one. If you would like me to do the tutorial of how I joined everything, I wouldn't mind doing that for you guys. You are the real MVP. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and I'll see you in my next video.